where good music lives. You're chilling with me, most bankable host Brian Aseli.
And I'm Mariam Bishar. Of course, we're starting off with a look at the papers to catch you up on stories making headlines in Kenya and around the world. And front page of the Daily Nation is something we have talked about maybe almost every day over the last few weeks and months. The crisis in education. We are playing with our children's future. There's been two major strikes by teaching staff. Of course, both Kupet and Nut at some point were threatening to strike and did strike. There's, of course, higher education, staff striking as well, lecturers and co.
And of course, a suspended university students
True, yes.
strike over school fees and the funding model in general. And of course, this is all in 1 month, less than 1 month.
Yes.
We've just seen either strike looming or actually strike starting, like just one that starts today.
That's right. So there's a look at what's happening with our education system, and we've talked about these stories individually, but perhaps it's good to collate them all together so that we have a look at what's happening from a big picture perspective. Junior secondary schools, there's public school students in grade 7 and 8 who are bearing the brunt of a chaotic transition into the new CBC system. If you remember correctly, there was about 46,000 teachers who are JSS teachers who had not been employed on permanent and pensionable basis. They were being termed as interns, and that was a big bone of contention, which was one of the reasons teachers went on strike.
Yes.
That has not changed. Of course, this also means that they're teaching subjects which they are not qualified or trained to be teaching.
Yes, and
but
of course,
they just wanashikilia too.
They wanashikilia too. And of course, the promises were made. And if not for these intern teachers, then we would definitely not have a slight transition, because that's been the biggest blunder. Another thing we've seen during this month is school fires and tragedies. And parents fear for the safety of their children in boarding schools amid failure to adhere to set guidelines. And as you read that, page 6 says that 239 is the number of secondary schools that have had unrest this year, according to Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba.
That's right. And of those, 106 are fires. There's also the varsity fee changes. The new funding model has led to students' protests over the questionable banding, resulting in a second review. There's now a 129-member committee formed by the president now to review the funding model, which places people in terms of quote-unquote neediness, or your need for financial aid between band 1 and band 5. But a lot of students say, you know what, the banding is very, very problematic. It's not accurate. It doesn't meet our needs. Also, the fees are just way too expensive.
And of course, Kenyans are more educated than ever now, but is that going to be the wave if we are also seeing the wave of pay strikes? Teachers in primary and secondary schools, as well as university dons and workers, have downed their tools. As we look at that, Mariam, just remember that students, some of them are actually worried because they don't know. It's a tedious process to actually apply. And then after you apply, you don't know who's going to be picked or not, because they're going to identify the need. Now, the difference between this one and the previous one is that the previous funding model was a little bit more clear and easier to apply. And you definitely know the amount in cash that you're going to actually receive and for what. For this one, you can't even plan, because you don't know if you're going to be allocated money or not. And of course, with if the problem is in primary, secondary, and university, is it by design? Because we had a president, that is President Mwai Kibaki, who was serious about even making primary school education free. We saw the emergence of so many universities, and also the performances in high schools really improved.
True. I think we're seeing an undoing of decades worth of work in the education sector to get us to a place where people are educated and well informed. Yeah, we're seeing definitely a backtracking for sure. You're right. The fact that it's across all levels of education does seem systemic and almost, I don't know, planned or thought out. The fact that we're not willing to invest in education is a big, big question.
The big question is, are we playing with our children's future? Give me that feedback on